Welcome to Herd Mentality, a podcast from StoneX where we discuss global dairy markets and what's driving them. Remember that the trading of derivatives such as futures, options, and over-the-counter products or swaps may not be suitable for all investors. Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss, and past results are not necessarily indicative of future results. We're recording this November 14th, Thursday morning, U.S. time. With me this week is Vipin Kumar. He's Vice President of Dairy Risk Management for the Middle East region. He's our newest employee. I think we brought him on just a week ago. Vipin, can you give us a little bit of your background?
Thanks, Nate, for inviting me today. It was a pleasure to be part of the StoneX team. Just to give you a little background, I studied international trade in India and straight away moved to export sales and marketing stuff and spent some good years getting some knowledge about food and non-food industries before coming into dairy. Now it is almost a decade and a half I spent in time in dairy, worked with Paras Dairy, took experience for Indian dairy industries, and then moved to trading as well. I worked for Olam International for 5 years, and then moved to Dubai for 3.5 years back. With role with Trelon. Earlier name was Glenbia. Now I'm here, so that was a bit of background that I worked on.
That's very interesting. We don't often get to talk to people who are directly involved with exporting Indian product, and I want to circle back to that. But last week was the Gulf Food Manufacturing Conference, or forget what they call it, the Gulf Food Manufacturing event in Dubai, and we had a group of people there, including you. Peter Meehan told me that you were walking around and everybody knew who you were, and you knew everybody there. What did you hear in terms of market development, supply, demand, or price issues in the region?
Yeah, Gulf food manufacturing is one of the gaining traction at this point in time. There was earlier only one show, Gulf Food. They since it was becoming so popular and bigger, so they decided to have it in two lots. I would say two version, Gulf Food, which is in February, and another Gulf Food manufacturing in November. So it is gaining traction. And to be honest, uh, Gulf food manufacturing is making more sense for ingredient players and industrial players, though it is a small show of 3 days where all the relevant people are coming and having some fruitful discussions with suppliers and buyers. Gulf Food February edition is still the largest in the region, and people are still coming to that show because that gives a bigger outlook for the Middle East market. But I would say this Gulf Food manufacturing is always preferred choice for all the relevant, buyers and sellers in especially the ingredient market. Uh, yeah, I was this time I was. With StoneX, which was a new experience to me now. And though as usual, we have some market chatters around it, and the people were talking about butter, which was a big elephant in the room. Everybody was talking about butter volatility in the market and fat and cheese because prices started coming off when we saw last month, end of October, and then again, and people were anticipating then that the market may go down to the level of 6.5 euro a ton, but GDT gave them another boost in the prices, and sentiments now changed again. However, the region here, customers are very choosy and price sensitive as well. They always try to find alternative options if the prices from US and Europe are not competitive enough. So they always find the cheapest options, which is India at this point in time. And India is now exporting product to Middle East, North Africa, and they started working on another market as well. I would I will take Indian market a different part of this discussion, but Russia is one of the destination now, which is which is now in the approved list. So that we will talk later in the discussion. The other stuff that we heard about skim and fat filled, because most of the product is coming from Europe, from this region. Prices are more or less stable. There was, no as such rush to buy, because most of the bigger buyer are already covered for Ramadan demand, and some of the repackers or smaller customers are still finding a better price for skim, which is mostly they have to buy it now to cover their Ramadan demand if they have to. Otherwise, most of the people are covered for Q1 so far. That was uh, one bit of it, and then another thing was people were worried about the supply side of it, because of the tension in Middle East and Red Sea issue still going on, and people are worried for their supplies which they have booked for Ramadan, because the transit time has been increased and freight has been increased uh, for the region. So they were a bit concerned on the supply side of it. Other thing that we heard from the customers, that on the coverage side, uh, mostly larger customers are covered, as I said, for Ramadan. But some of the customer will definitely buy now, and they have to buy now uh, to cover their demand for their early Q1 for Ramadan.
And just for reference, Ramadan is going to be late February into March of next year. So you think quite a bit of coverage is on for basically the first quarter of next year?
Yeah, yeah, that is true. That is true. Every year it is coming forward by 10 to 15 days.
In general, imports by the Middle East in the past 18 to 24 months have been running stronger than what my model would have predicted. Do you see that good demand continuing? Is there any reason to be concerned about demand in the region?
No, I would say people have started buying little far forward. Earlier, they used to buy only, hand to mouth, because, as I mentioned, there is a delay in transit time, and they are concerned about supply side, because most of the suppliers are sold out for Q4 this year and Q1 next year. So they just want to make sure that they will get the continuous supply. Therefore, they probably have bought slightly higher quantity compared to the last years. But and as such, there is no upside in terms of demand of skim and full cream. It is more or less stable demand, but supplies may be constrained from origins. Therefore, they got little extra cover for themselves.
Now, we've mentioned it a couple of times, the exports from India, and the trade data is showing an increase in exports, especially of Indian butter this year, with a lot of that going to Bahrain. I'm curious from your perspective, how much of the butter going to the Middle East is going into food service versus retail?
Yeah, as in Indian butter prices are one of the uh, cheapest at this point in time, and are readily available for the customers in Middle East. They prefer to buy. Uh, they would prefer to buy from India, and time to time they were not exporting. Now it's been over past 14, 15 months. They are continuous in terms of their supplies, and most of the buyers from Middle East are now routing towards India to buy butter. Uh, as you mentioned, Bahrain is one of the market where there are few companies who are importing their largest size and scale, and they are buying and making the product for themselves, and it redistributing into the Middle East of the end product. And it's not only Bahrain; there are other markets like Saudi, UAE. They are the buyers for butter, and North Africa again, Morocco and Egypt are the market who buy Indian product.
You said the region is price sensitive and willing to switch to different suppliers. Is that because a lot of the butter going into the region is repackaged and maybe put into a local brand?
So there are two ways of doing it. There are companies who are using it for their own processing, for processed cheese manufacturing companies, and some of the companies who are buying and repacking it and using it for the HoReCa as well, food service and HoReCa segment. But I would say the largest chunk is going only for processing, not for the repacking. For the repacking, they prefer to buy from Europe, New Zealand, and US.
Okay, that makes sense. I don't know what's your long term view on India's trade?
See, India footprints into the export market is growing, and recently the approval from Russia for few factories that will give a lot of boost to the Indian industries, and they are now exporting to Russia. And season this point in time for India is on. The product was available to ship. There were a lot of product was available. There were a lot of festivals which got over now. There's no marriages as such in India, which is going to be start in December, and season is still on. They'll produce another, good quantity of the skim and butter this year as well. So I think going forward also, India will try to make sure that they will remain in the market for export. That's my view on that.
I think in the past we've seen India cut off exports when prices rise uh, a lot domestically, right? I think we've seen it with rice. Um, have we seen it with dairy before?
Yes, India, in terms of a dairy, is also very sensitive. They prefer to serve the local market, and India is the largest consumer of, dairy, and especially the fats during the winter times and when there is a festivals and marriages around it. So India will prefer to supply within India itself, but when there is an opportunity for getting better realization from export, they prefer to export. So there was a time when there was a shortage. So Indian government put a ban a couple of times in 2007 and 2011, I guess, and then they started again exporting the product. So it is always an opportunistic market. It keeps on and off, but most of the time, since last 14, 15 months, they are in the market to supply.
Yeah, it's an interesting one to watch. We currently don't have it in StoneX Plus, but it's on our list of countries to add. And excuse me. In fact, when we were going through the list of countries that we want to add, there was a few of Middle Eastern countries like Turkey, and then South Asia, India that we want to add in there because they're increasingly important to the global trade flows.
Absolutely, India is making its footprint into the world market. As you might have heard the news about, Amul is trying to cope up with the Spain cooperative, which they gonna supply from there and in their own packing Amul brand. So that will give a little boost to Indian industry and stepping stone for Indian industry for within European market.
Very interesting. With that, thank you for your time today, Vipin.
It was my pleasure to be a part of this, and happy to answer if there is any question around it.
The StoneX Dairy team spans the US, EU, Asia, and Oceania, providing market intelligence, analysis, and forecasts through our interactive data platform called StoneX Plus, as well as full service brokerage on the major dairy exchanges, the CME, EEX, and SGX. If you're interested in finding out more about our market intelligence or brokerage services, you can find more information on stonex.com.
This communication is issued in the European Economic Area by StoneX Financial Europe SA, SFE by the SFE presenters noted. StoneX is the trade name used by StoneX Group Inc. and all its associated entities and subsidiaries. StoneX Group Inc. companies provide financial services worldwide through its subsidiaries, including physical commodities, securities, exchange-traded and over-the-counter, under derivatives, risk management, global payments and foreign exchange products in accordance with applicable law in the jurisdictions where services are provided. References to certain over-the-counter products or swaps are made on behalf of StoneX Markets, LLC SXM, a member of the National Futures Association NFA and provisionally registered with the U.S. Commodity Futures Trading Commission CFTC as a swap dealer. SXM products are designed only for individuals or firms who qualify under CFTC rules as an eligible contract participant (ECPAT) and who have been accepted as customers of SXM. Wealth management is offered through SA Stone Wealth Management Inc., member FINRA/SIPC, and SA Stone Investment Advisors Inc., and SEC Registered Investment Advisor, both wholly owned subsidiaries of StoneX Group Inc. StoneX Financial Limited SFL is registered in England and Wales, company No. 5,616,586. SFL is authorized and regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority registration number FRN 446,717 to provide to professional and eligible customers including arrangement, execution and, where required, clearing derivative transactions in exchange-traded futures and options. SFL is also authorized to engage in the arrangement and execution of transactions in certain OTC products, certain securities trading, precious metals trading and payment services to eligible customers. SFL is authorized regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority under the Payment Services Regulations 2017 for the provision of payment services. SFL is a Category 1 ring dealing member of the London Metal Exchange. In addition, SFL also engages in other physically delivered commodities business and other general business activities which are unregulated and not required to be authorized by the Financial Conduct Authority. StoneX Financial Europe SA, SFE is a securities trading firm registered in the Grand Duchy of Luxembourg under Company No. RC Lux B 10821. SFE is authorized by the Luxembourg Ministry of Finance and regulated by the Commission de Surveillance du Secteur Financier registration No. P0000012 to carry out, inter alia, the activities of investment advisor, portfolio manager, professional acting on own account, broker in financial instruments, and commission agent. StoneX Financial Pte Ltd Co. Reg. No. 2011305988R SFP is regulated by the Monetary Authority of Singapore and is a capital market service licensee for dealing in capital market products, an exempt financial advisor for advising on investment products and issuing or promulgating analyses/reports on investment products, and a major payment institution for cross-border money transfer service. StoneX Financial HK Limited C. No. BCQ152-SHK is regulated by the Hong Kong Securities and Futures Commission for dealing in futures contracts. StoneX Group Inc. acts as agent for SFL in New York with respect to its payment services business. StoneX Financial Thai Limited SFA Akin 141774727 holds an Australian financial service license and is regulated by the Australian Securities and Investments Commission AFSL 345646. StoneX Securities Co. Limited SSJ Co. Reg. No. 010401047199 is regulated by the Japanese Financial Services Agency as a Type I financial instruments business operator. Kanto Local Finance Bureau FIBO No. 291 is a member of the Financial Futures Association of Japan for dealing and broking FX and FX option transactions, and is a member of the Japan Securities Dealers Association for dealing and broking stock indices and option transactions. The information herein is not a recommendation to trade nor investment research or an offer to buy or sell any financial product. It does not take into account your particular investment objectives, financial situation, or needs, and does not create a binding obligation on any of the StoneX Group Inc. of companies to enter into any transaction with you. You are advised to perform an independent investigation of any transaction to determine whether any transaction is suitable for you. This material should be construed as the solicitation of an account, order, and/or services provided by the FCM division of StoneX Financial Inc., SFI NFAID 0476094 or StoneX Markets LLC SXM NFAID 0449652 and represents the opinions and viewpoints of the individual authors or presenters and does not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of SFI or SXM. It does not constitute an individualized recommendation or take into account the particular trading objectives, financial situations, or needs of individual customers. Additionally, this material should not be construed as research material. The trading of derivatives such as futures, options, and over-the-counter products or swaps may not be suitable for all investors. Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss, and you should fully understand the risks prior to trading. Past results are not necessarily indicative of future results. All references to and discussion of OTC products or swaps are made solely on behalf of SXM. All references to futures and options on futures trading are made solely on behalf of SFI. SXM products are intended to be traded only by individuals or firms who qualify under CFTC rules as an eligible contract participant (ECPA) and who have been accepted as customers of SXM. SFI and SXM are not responsible for any redistribution of this material by third parties or any trading decisions taken by persons not intended to view this material. Information contained herein was obtained from sources believed to be reliable, but is not guaranteed as to its accuracy. Contact designated personnel from SFI or SXM for specific trading advice to meet your trading preferences. SFP may distribute analysis/report produced by its respective foreign affiliates within the StoneX Group of companies pursuant to an arrangement under Regulation 32C of the Financial Advisors Regulations. Recipients should contact contact SFP at 656-309-1000 for any matters arising from or in connection with this podcast. No part of this material may be copied or duplicated in any form by any means or redistributed without the prior written consent of Stone X Group Inc. The podcast herein is not directed to or intended for distribution to or use by any person or entity who is a citizen or resident of or located in any locality, state, country, or other jurisdiction where such distribution, publication, availability, or use would be contrary to law or regulation. Copyright 2024 Stone X Group Inc. All rights reserved.